Yujin, you've asked me to look at alternative concepts of God to try to understand what reality is all about. And I've been trying, but I only see problems. Each one has different sorts of problems. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure if those problems are really any less than the obvious problems I see in theism and atheism. How can you begin to look critically at all of these alternatives?
Okay, so let's start with pantheism and pantheism. So pantheism says that God is identical to the universe, and pantheism says that the universe is a proper part of God. Now, these views are very different from the classical concept of God, which says that there is an omniscient, omnipotent, and morally perfect creator.
That is a personal God.
That's right. And almost all arguments against the classical concept try to show that there cannot be an omniscient, omnipotent, and morally perfect being.
Or you can't have a person as a divine being.
That's right. And pantheism and panentheism reject this kind of idea. So they don't face these arguments against the classical concept of God. But at the same time, pantheism and panentheism, they face all sorts of problems as well.
What are some of them?
Okay, the first one is the problem of unity. So pantheism, again, says that the universe is identical to God, but the universe contains a lot of different things, so different people, different objects, and different properties. So how can we say that God is identical to the universe? How can we treat the universe as a single entity?
Especially because definitions of God like to show that God is simple, because if it's an ultimate object, you don't want the more complexity you have in an ultimate object, the further it away it would seem from something ultimate.
Yeah, that's right.
Because if it has to be there necessarily, how could it have all these parts and complexity?
Yeah, so classical theists claim that God is simple because simplicity is a great-making property. So if God is the greatest possible being, he should be simple. But if pantheism is true, then the universe is God, which includes a lot of complex properties and objects and so on. So it's a little bit strange to think that the universe is the greatest possible being.
That's a good argument.
Another problem that pantheism and panentheism face is the origin of the universe. So according to cosmology, the universe began to exist 15 billion years ago. And if that's true, then that means that God began to exist 15 billion years ago, or at least a proper part of God began to exist 15 billion years ago. And some people think that it's implausible to think that God or a proper part of God began to exist.
Sure. Other problems?
Another problem is a form of the problem of evil. The problem of evil for the classical concept says that why there is evil in this world if there is a morally perfect, omnipotent being. So that's the problem of evil for the classical concept. Of course, pantheism and panentheism don't face this problem because they don't say that there is an omnipotent, morally perfect creator as a personal creator of the universe. But at the same time, they face a somewhat similar problem. And according to this problem, pantheism and panentheism are wrong because the universe contains a lot of evil events and awful things and ugly things as well. So how can we say that the universe is God or the universe is a proper part of God if it's so awful and evil and so on?
Well, that just changes your definition of God.
That's right. That's what pantheists and panentheists could say. So they can say that they are no longer interested in defining God as a morally perfect being. So we don't need to worry about the fact that there are a lot of evil events in this world.
The big question, though, is there anything of God that goes beyond the physical, natural world?
Yeah, so they accept the idea that God is identical to reality. So they just have to accept that there is evil. Classical theists try to show that actually evil doesn't exist, or God is not responsible for the existence of evil.
Well, there's a big reason why evil is there.
That's right. But pantheists and panentheists, they just accept the nature of reality. So they just have to accept the claim that there is evil in this world. Pantheism and panentheism also faces another problem, which says that maybe these views are just atheism in disguise. So many scientists like pantheism or panentheism because it's quite naturalistic. It doesn't postulate anything very different from our physical universe. But then you might think that actually pantheism or panentheism are just different way of defending atheism. So we just accept atheism. We say that the universe is all there is, and we just call the universe God.
Or not call it God, because God is a word laden with baggage and other problems. Some people may like it, but if it's not doing, if the word God is not doing any work,
right,
really it should be discarded.
Right. So you might think that actually pantheism is just the same as atheism. And there's no ontological difference between what pantheists believe and what atheists believe.
Do you believe that?
No, I think pantheists and panentheists can claim that their views are different from atheism. There is something special about the universe. It's not just the universe is a pure physical thing without any additional properties that can attribute to the divinity or worship worthiness of the universe.